I am.
All right, then get this dog and pony show going. All right, seeing as how it's 6 o'clock, let's call this meeting of the Mascoma Valley Regional School Board to order. We'll start. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And first up, we have approval of the minutes, public and non-public, from April 26th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from April 21 to 6, public and non-public. Second.
All right. Any discussion?
I have one correction on page
Okay.
3 of the public,
On page 3 of public?
line 42.
Okay.
Right after it says Mr. Giorgio mentioned approval of transfer funds. I asked whether the transfers appear in the audit or are considered an audit item, and he said yes.
Okay.
That's all.
Let's add that little, add that question. Anything else in there?
Is this new under the non-public where we give a little brief description?
Yeah, in order to comply, the state laws changed, if I'm not mistaken. And so it does have to have a little more detail than what we were doing before. But as you can see, it's just very,
Right, just
very, very plain. That being said, we can seal minutes at any time too. If people see something on there that's a little too much detail, that people feel it should be sealed, so. All right. Anything else? All right. Seeing no further comments on that, all those in favor of approval of the minutes, public and non-public, from April 26th, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed and abstentions. Right, Candace? Okay. All right. That's done. Come back to that. All right. Public comment. Hello, Mr. Public. Any comment? No. Okay. Anybody out there raising their hand? Going nuts? All right. Well then, we'll go right to continuing business. EIC. Let's see. So we met. Let's see. So we met on April 21st, and we talked about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we had our Cynthia Kalia, our school social worker, our district social worker, did a very nice presentation talking about all of the different aspects and angles that kids have, and all the different resources that they work on to make sure that every kid's included, and different things to make sure that we support the students that are not well represented in other ways. So it was really helpful to see what we're already doing, and I think that will feed a lot into our strategic development plan, and it'll inform us there and stuff. But yeah, it was just a very good conversation. We talked a little bit about a club fair, bringing over 9th graders and stuff like that. We did talk, in part of the diversity thing, we talked about religious holidays, and she had a very handy handout that one district used, where it just gave like every possible religious holiday that your students might have, like in a nice concise list in the calendar order. And so like teachers could have it, and they could be like, oh, why is this kid absent? Oh, okay, I didn't know it was if it was a Muslim holy day or something like that. So it was just served for a very nice informational aspect. So, and then we have another meeting next week. So, did I miss anything, Kathleen?
Nope, I think you did well.
Yes.
I had a question when I was looking through the DEI slides.
Yes.
A lot of it, or some of it seemed like it's not what I traditionally think of as DEI, and I wanted to ask about that.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot regarding kind of emotional intelligence and that kind of stuff, but it didn't seem like there was a ton of things that
Yeah.
that are kind of traditional DEI
I
topics.
would agree with you, Danielle,
Yeah.
and I was a little bit surprised that this was as broad as it was.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
talked about, you know,
It's
the
very-
curriculum in general.
Mhm.
We did have a pretty nice discussion about the groups that we already have here in place at the high school. We specifically talked about speak, I believe, that we kind of has fallen by the wayside. And Cynthia was going to move forward and look at what does, you know, how we included speak in some of the other
Like
groups
Interact.
we do, Interact
Yeah.
Club,
Maybe that,
and, you know, other things like that. So we're really
Yeah.
looking at encompassing all students and giving students a voice. This was a broad brush
Okay,
Yeah.
stroke.
Yeah.
We got into more specifics in the
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah, the
Absolutely.
presentation very well, yes.
okay, all right.
But yeah, we had a nice discussion about like, you know, where we are as a high school in rural New Hampshire, and,
Yeah.
you know, what does that mean, and how do you get kids to interact with each other and people outside of the community and stuff, so, yeah, it was a very broad presentation, but,
Yeah.
but it was good,
Okay.
I thought we were on a good
Because,
track.
you know, that is one of the things with us being the kind of region that we're in, you know, there's not necessarily a lot of, we don't have the same sort of issues as you would find in some other regions.
Mhm.
And so, you know, thinking about taking that broad lens to look at socioeconomic status or other sorts of things,
Yeah,
I think it is valid because, you know, we have all sorts of families in our district, and we need to make sure that we're, you know, just keeping that in mind
yeah.
with
yeah.
everything. I know that we had the intersectionality day a few years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
We haven't really had any sort of follow-up sort of stuff to that. I don't know if that's because of that was Speak kind of
That was a
organized
speak-
that, yeah.
That was absolutely
Yeah.
true, and Julie Hogue, I believe,
Yes.
was
Yes.
instrumental in that.
Yeah.
And COVID hasn't helped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we talked, the speak came back up, and she also talked, was it the Rainbow Alliance?
Rainbow
Mhm.
Alliance.
Yes, at the
Yeah.
high school level,
Coalition.
getting that started back up again and
Yeah.
stuff, so. Kind of bring every kid in, make sure every kid feels at home and has a place, so.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions on that one? All right. Superintendent's report.
You do have my written report in your packet. I do reference hiring season because we are knee-deep in hiring season. You'll see this evening that we have some other resignations, so we'll be posting more positions and looking to hire others in the coming weeks. We do have a lot of year-end activities. We're moving forward with some traditional graduation, end-of-year activity field days, all of those things that have sort of been put on hold. We're moving forward with those. And then a reminder to parents that if they're looking for summer learning opportunities for their students, they should check out our website, check out our community resources section of our website. I know I've just approved things in the few recent weeks for Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, some soccer information. So there are many, many opportunities for our kids if parents are still looking to fill those summer days.
I know as a parent of an IRS student, I got an email this week about a STEM camp, I think, right? In
Yep.
August, so if
Yep.
you have a kid in IRS, that's a fun thing to do. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff, and as you can see, there's art up there, which is really nice. I'm gonna check it out later. And I don't know, I sat in front of Kathleen at the IRS drama on Friday night, and that was phenomenal. It was just so much fun to see the kids have a blast, so, yeah. That's probably where I
And
come.
the audience.
And the audience, yeah, they had a blast. It was a pretty full house, so. They said they had about 300 people each day, so.
Nice.
Yeah. And the concert, I guess, went well, so. All right, anything else on?
That's all I have.
No. Any questions, any other questions? All right, Rob, Business Administrator's report. Good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, where's your
Excellent.
conference? Where's your conference?
Up at the Mount Washington Omni.
Ooh, all right.
Nice and fancy. So this evening, along the lines of what Amanda was talking about, this is the season where we're going into summer. So we are winding down the fiscal year in accounting, closing purchase orders, and just finishing up so we can roll over to the next year. We've set up the fiscal year 23 in the accounting system. So we're going to open that up soon for people to start putting in requisitions so they can order things over the summer and just get a good running start for July 1st in the new fiscal year. And speaking of summer projects, in my written report, I referenced that there's going to be some changes because we have to work around some supply chain issues, and facilities also has to work around like the summer school schedule. So we're fleshing out the summer programs and the summer activities that are going to go on. The Skylight project is going to be pushed back a little bit, so there will be a revision to the capital improvement plan. So that will be forthcoming in the not too distant future. And also, I've included financials for your review. And that's all for me. Any questions?
Anything, Rob? Cool. No, looks like you're in the clear, Rob. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Public comment response update. Able to follow up with?
So I do have an email that was just sent to me from a board member that I would like to address. It does state, as a taxpayer, I'd like to know why the school has no money for things like field trips, a track, or educational items, book bags, calculators, etc., but has plenty of money to put a hot tub in the teacher's lounge. So I just would like to reassure the public that we do pay for field trips. We do take the kids on field trips. We don't charge parents. That is in the budget. We do pay for supplies. That is a significant portion of the budget. So there are supplies that are provided to our students. Unfortunately, we do not have a track. That is correct. And I have received a lot of public support for us moving forward with a track. Okay. So that might be something that we do look into. Mm-hmm. But I'm pretty sure we don't have a hot tub in any of the teachers' lounges. If we do, they should invite me. Yep. Because I haven't seen them. But I hope that rumor will not continue, that we have hot tubs in the teachers' lounges, because that is just not simply true. So I just wanted to make sure that the public was aware of that and it was on record. I will respond to this email and let this person know that if they need help with educational supplies for their student, they should let me know also, or let their school know. We have more funding that would be available to help out.
Absolutely.
So that's all I have for public comment. Okay.
I have a follow-up from last week.
Yep.
There was some concern about security cameras on the buses. I think we were going to check with Butlers.
I did have a meeting with Butlers, yeah. And they are working on upgrading chips. Most of the buses do have functional cameras. Okay. There might be one or two that do not, right. But most of our cameras do have functional, most of the buses have functional cameras.
All right. Cool. Okay, new business. The MVRHS Museum of Fine Arts field trip request to go to the Boston Museum of Fine Arts.
Make a motion, they can go to Boston Fine Arts. They go every year.
Okay, so second?
I'll second.
Okay, Hope with a second. All right, so this is from the arts teacher, right?
Well, you have Nancy Grout here who would be willing to answer any questions that you might have.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hello.
So you're anticipating taking 20 students or so, or more than that? About a busload.
Right, more than that. Several years ago, it's funny listening to the email about field trips. Many years ago, I teach humanities, which is a junior honors English course at the high school. And many years ago, we went to the fine arts and the students did a scavenger hunt for the artwork that we studied throughout the year. And our kids are itching to leave and get out and see the world again. And I spoke with the best French, who is our art teacher at the high school, and said, could we coordinate something? Would you like to go with a couple of your art classes? And she said, absolutely. So we're both going to use the trip for our final exam. Kids are going to be able to go and just appreciate the art, find an artist that they studied earlier in the year, and find a new piece and talk about it and what made them interested in it. We're hoping that Dave Schindlinger will also be our bus driver, because he would like to bring some of his wood shop students. So we're pretty much anticipating a full bus actually. And Friends of Mascoma, I wrote a mini grant for bus transportation and a couple of entrance tickets. The students can go for free and they can go in 9 at a time. The Museum of Fine Arts is not doing groups again. And I said, we're not looking to do a group tour, that all the students will have an assignment. And the person I spoke to said, that's no problem. Just bring them in 9 at a time. Make sure you have a teacher with them. So we're all covered on that. And we also invited Holly West, who is a former humanities student. And she's been to many art museums with me when we've traveled abroad with Bill Bellion over to France. And she's already in our system as far as a volunteer. So she would be approved. And she'll be our Friends of Mascoma. And yeah, we're excited, and we hope that you would like us to go, I guess.
Any questions?
So it looks like the funding is basically set between the Friends of Mascoma mini grant and the students being able to enter the museum free with their ID, and any experiencing the arts funds that are still available. So basically, I think all we need to do is just approve the field trip. Perfect. Yeah, this sounds like a great opportunity for them to really experience what they have been talking about throughout the humanities course. So I think that sounds like a great, and also a great alternative to a traditional final exam, something that they can really have some ownership on and maybe enjoy and use some of those other skills, such as their presentation skills, which is part of our goals for the district. So that's great.
Yeah. I like how you're combining different classes and maximizing the trip, and I think with small classes that we have, this is a good model going forward. Whether it's going to like the city of Boston or going to one destination and splitting up, I like this creativity of being able to carpool, if you will, on field trips. So, all right, I'll take.
I have a question.
Oh yes, sorry. Go ahead.
So it looks like there's a possibility of 45 students and 3 chaperones. Is that right?
4 chaperones. It would be Dave Schindlinger, who is a teacher as well as a bus driver. There's our bus driver, myself, Bess French, and then Holly West would be our 4th one.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Cool. I'll entertain a motion then.
I already gave it.
Oh, that's right. You already gave me a motion. Thank you. All right. All those in favor of approving the field trip for the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed and abstentions. All right. You are good to go.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful evening.
You too. Thank you. All right.
Tim, at this time, could I ask you to move up the athletic handbooks?
Oh, yeah.
Just because I do know that one of my athletic directors has coursework to do.
Oh, of course. Yes. All right. Without any objection, let's do athletic handbooks first. So, Rodney, hello.
Hello, let me just get my video up here.
Sure.
All right, excellent. All right, so before we get started into the handbooks, I did want to share, because I know there was an inquiry about it at the last board meeting. Tomorrow at 3:30 before our home baseball game, we are actually going to present our wrestling banners to our 3 state champions. So by all means, you guys are invited. Weather should be beautiful for it, but yeah, we're gonna do it at 3:30. Present the banners, good photo op before they get up on the walls.
Awesome.
So getting right into, let me just turn this up a little bit here. Getting into the stuff that you have, the handbooks. We'll start with the student athlete handbook. Other than the changing of the dates to reflect our next school year, we did touch on a few language things, one being under MVRHS eligibility, page 10. There was nothing in there before, just kind of assumed that, if a student athlete decided not to continue in a season, quit, for any foreseen reason, that they would report to the coach. That, in the time that I've been here, that it hasn't, there hasn't been that formal, notification on some instances. So I just want to get that in there. And that's something that's actually pretty I found in some handbooks in some of our area schools around us. So just to get that in there, have that in there formally. On page 15 for the concussion protocol, I spoke to our nurses. There was a couple instances that came up this year on just the language of, at first it was just concussion. If somebody had a concussion, we wanted to put in the language that it was either suspected or diagnosed concussion that we want them to be checked out. Because they get into that gray area if it's just like, well, my kid doesn't have, my student doesn't have a concussion. We still want them to be checked. So that's why we put in suspected or diagnosed. In game procedures, in that spot, if we just keep going down, we wanted to include coaches. That is something that we do, as when we do our coaches meetings and everything, is if there is a technical foul or a yellow card for athletes and coaches, they should notify the athletic directors immediately so that, we can follow up and get all the information. As for the awards section, one minor change, and it's something that we have done in the past, but just wanted to have that in writing, is including our managers in awards contention. Getting them a certificate. We have a pin, for the managers that has the MGR, so they can put it on their letter, if they qualify for that. So we do have a good group of student managers that we've had in the last couple of years here. And we wanted to do it right and make sure that they have that language in there to qualify for awards. We even went to another extent too. I want to thank a couple of my coaches that collaborated with me on this. On page 26 of the appendix, we actually have manager guidelines that we want our managers to follow. Very cut and dry. And it can really cater to any sport, which is great. So now, if a student athlete comes to us and says, well, I don't really want to play the sport, but I really like the management part of it, we actually have that guidance now, and almost like a little bit of a contract for them to sign, so they know exactly what their responsibilities and the things that they shouldn't be doing, before they even start the season. And on page 22, just some, again, some little minor things on the paperwork. We are Family ID, but we do still have families that use the paper copies. And, we added fall and winter for Spirit as our offerings, and also pretty excited. This will be our first year as a varsity indoor track program coming up here. So we added winter in there as well, winter and spring as an option. And the position actually just posted for our first indoor track and field coach. So exciting times. Same thing with the coach's handbook. The coach's handbook, a lot of the same things, just wanted to be aligned with the student athlete handbook on changing the dates, having that language in there about the concussions. Also the manager roles and responsibilities. And then I know we have April on the call here as well. The last piece is what a very important piece that we've actually had for the last couple of years. But our emergency action plans for our athletic programs. This is actually state level now and required for all schools. So it's nice to be ahead of it here, because they want them in as soon as this fall. So we're well ahead of the game here. And I know can't speak that way for the rest of the state. So it's good to see that we have these in place, and we've spoken to our nurses, we've spoken to everybody involved, and my level, and a lot of our professional development. This topic has come up, and we actually have shared our emergency action plans with other athletic directors and experts in the field at more state level stuff. And ours was actually one of them, and got a lot of thumbs up. So it's good to see where we are. So, yeah.
Any questions for Rodney on that?
Hey Rodney, I had a couple of questions about some of the updates, just to help clarify. So on the first one on page 10, I really like that you've included or formalized that if students want to drop from a team, that they need to have conversations and not just like stop showing up for things.
Yeah,
I wondered if that would be the case also for someone who was just there for the tryouts. So, like, is there some sort of delineator of is it only after you've accepted a roster spot, or like how deep into things? Like if someone just doesn't come back to the second day of tryouts, are they still obligated to go through, have an exit interview essentially?
Danielle, that's a great question. I know that we have, when people try out, we give them a week. I would say after that week period where, like the tryout period or whatever, where we're accepting kids, that would be the time that, you have that, that formal, conversation, or even just an email or something that, something concrete that knows that, all right, we're not guessing if that student athlete's coming back or not. So I would say after that, team selection period would be that time that we would instill something like that. So I can actually change the language to include that.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think that just trying to, cross all the T's so that people know what the expectations are, so you don't have to track anyone down.
Absolutely, definitely.
And then the other was, again, something that I'm really glad that we've created and have included, and that's the page 26, the student manager roles and responsibilities. Knowing that so much of the, of kind of capturing the team tends to happen from phones, as opposed to, say, a video camera or some other device that is more likely to be school owned. Is there any way that we make sure that the kids have the stuff that they need as the manager? Because I know that, sometimes it'll be not necessarily the manager that is doing the video recording, but they might be trying to capture photos or something in order to put on a team Instagram account, or,
Right.
those sorts of things.
Yeah, I could definitely work with Mr. Suddy and Mr. Longton to make sure that, we can, see if we can rent out some, some digital photography or whatnot. And I know our basketball teams use the iPads, the film. So by all means, we'll do that. And what's great too is we also have Seth, with the AV club too, who has, a great assortment of gadgets to record and do whatnot. So we'll definitely point them in the right direction.
Perfect.
Kathleen?
No.
Oh, okay, I was going to, okay, Hope.
No, I just want to say, I think it's wonderful that you're doing the award for the manager, because I know that moving forward, these kids, they go on to college athletics, and they can certainly put this as a, something on their resume or whatever, their college application.
Mhm.
So, and it's even a career moving forward,
Yeah.
so it's great.
Yeah.
And I know from the boosters, the Royals Athletic Boosters Scholarship for seniors, we had included managers
Oh,
as
right, yeah.
eligible for the scholarships, not just student athletes,
Right.
because we know it's an
big-
asset
Yeah.
for the teams and the coaches to have that kind of support, and it's a time commitment for the managers to be there.
Yeah, yeah, you're not just like a towel guy. You're actually managing an athletic
Right.
team, and yeah, it's cool.
Yep.
Anything else for Rodney on those? You good? All right. Cool, all right. And so what were you gonna change on that one, on page 10 about, I just wanna make sure we can approve it without having to have-
Absolutely. So the
Change.
change is gonna just have in that a definitive time frame, like
Okay.
like after the tryout and the evaluation time, like team selection. I think that's the best way I can say it.
Yeah.
After team selection, this, that's what the expectation is.
Okay, all right. Do we have a motion to approve the high school student athlete?
I'll make a motion, can we approve all of them?
Yeah, we can wait till last and then do them all at once, sure.
Well, I just so make a motion to approve the student athlete handbook, the athletic emergency action plan, and the coach's handbook.
All right, there we go, the high school.
All from the high school.
High school
All
stuff.
from the high school, because I'm gonna get next door. Yeah.
Sounds good. All right,
Okay.
second?
Second.
All right, now, second. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor of approving the student athlete handbook, the coach's handbook, and the emergency action plan for the high school, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed and abstentions. All right. Thank you, Rodney.
Thank you.
April, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, welcome. So take it away, IRS.
All right. So
Let's start with.
I updated the athletic handbook. There was not a whole lot of changes. On page 8, I added a code of conduct for spectators. That was one of the things that I noticed we were missing this winter when we had indoor, basketball and it was limited. We didn't have a code of conduct, so it was sort of all over the place in the handbook, like from students and parents and coaches. So I kind of put it together as one thing so that we can post it for our sports as well. I did meet with Rodney and we talked about the concussion piece. I do need to add concussion suspected or diagnosed. I just left it as suspected, so I can update that language to match the high schools. And then we are also using Family ID at Indian River School. We started that this winter, so it's been nice. So I updated on page 9. It says complete the following forms under eligibility. I put online via Family ID. And then at the end of the handbook, where the forms are, it says on the bottom of page 17, note the following pages 18 through 21 are signed electronically as part of our online registration process through Family ID each season. So it's been helpful. The communication through Family ID has been a lifesaver, especially this winter when we had lots of cancellations for basketball games and rescheduling. It was one email out to everyone. So those are sort of the changes for the athletic handbook. I did not find anywhere in my files a coach's handbook. I found a very old Mascoma High School coach's handbook. So I used that as a model and created a coach's handbook and pulled the information and the language so it matches the athletic handbook as well. And then let's see, talks about the program goals, the expectation for coaches, conduct at games. I did want to put in there some coaching certification. Right now, there doesn't seem to be a lot for the coaches at Indian River School. So I would like for them to have a current CPR and basic first aid certification. So that way that we are covered. I would love to have them complete concussion certification and heat illness prevention. But it would be great if we could get them into at least CPR and basic first aid. So the coach's handbook is similar to the same language, as I said, as the athletic handbook. Rodney already brought up, we had to have an emergency action plan. IRS did not have one. Rodney shared his with me. I updated that so it matches what we have at Indian River School. We don't have an athletic trainer. We don't usually have EMTs on site. So the language is consistent with, the coaches are the first responders and then myself, and then we would call 911 and parents, et cetera, for any big emergency. I did meet with Sarah Boaz, the school nurse, and have her look over it. She gave suggestions of the heat stroke section of the handbook or of the emergency action plan. And she gave us the list of signs. So we put that language in there so that coaches would know the signs of that, of a heat stroke. So that's what we've got going on at Indian River School.
Cool. Any questions for April? Or I'll entertain a motion, actually, if you want to start with that.
I'll make a motion, we accept athletic handbook for Indian River School, the athletic emergency action plan, and coach's handbook.
All right.
Second.
And Danielle will second. All right, any questions thank you for putting together brand new coaches handbook, emergency action plan and stuff, and, because, yeah, that's streamline it, and it's good.
As far as, I bring up the coaches thing for her getting the CPR, they could go to, the same time the high school, if you get your coaches on the same time the high school as their coaches, you could get them to, coordinate and go with them on a lot of these, plans that they have during the spring and the fall, and, the clinics they have to go to, that the high school ones have to go to. I don't know if they've gone to a 2-year thing or every year or whatever. I haven't kept abreast of that because I'm only on the officiating end of it. So, but I know all the sports try to give the coaches some kind of background. But the CPR, they should know that anyway to start off with, and then basic first aid to help out your students, the athletes. So that's all.
Cool. Yeah.
I also really like adding the CPR and first aid, especially at the IRS level, when we know that there's not likely to be any additional medical professionals that are around. I think that's super helpful. Knowing that, especially the IRS, we don't pay our coaches enough anyway, but the IRS coaches get even less. So knowing that, is there a way for us to get them the training without having to pay out of their own pockets or their small stipends?
I think there is money in the budget for some conference work. I would have to double check, but I think we could certainly pay for that.
Okay, great.
CPR training day for as many coaches.
Yeah, exactly. If we could get one of the fast squads over and, and try to instigate as many of the coaches from both the high school and the IRS level, and maybe even open it up to MYSL, as a community service sort of thing, that would be great. And if there is some costs associated with that are not included in the current budget, that is probably something that boosters could help with as well.
Okay, thank you. And I can certainly coordinate that with Rodney.
Cool.
Great, thank you.
All right. Any other comments, questions, concerns about IRS stuff? All right. All those in favor of approving the student athletic handbooks for IRS, as well as the emergency operating plan and the coaches handbook, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed and abstentions. All right. You're all set. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
You're gonna take pictures, Rodney? Take a bunch of pictures.
Oh, plenty. I got you. The parents are asking what they can bring for cameras. I said, it's gonna be great. The weather's gonna be perfect. Lots of smiles, lots of pictures.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in Plymouth, so I just, I'll be in Plymouth.
I'm sure someone will tape it.
We'll make sure it gets on our district website, our Facebook page. We'll make sure it's done right.
Awesome.
Good.
All right. Student handbooks. Who do we have to present? Do we have anyone to present these? Amanda?
Don't.
Okay, that's
I
okay.
guess it's me.
All right. Lucky you.
I can present.
Oh, wait, April's here. Oh,
All right.
Phil.
You're here. Let's do the IRS student handbook then.
So the IRS student handbook updates were a lot of just tweaking. We have a page where it's the school calendar, so I updated that. We have a page where it's the staff. There are several that are highlighted in yellow that say TBD because we're still hiring those positions. And then I did add the school board policy on the school bus. So I added both of those to the appendix. And other than that, it was just small little tweaks of, the bell schedule, taking out the section that said like 6th grade had UA first period, because we don't know that yet for next year. So it still just has the periods of the day and the bell schedule, but it doesn't say which class has, which unified arts at this time.
Okay.
One question.
Yes. Oh.
I may be wrong about this, but I was looking at the clubs and activities for the kids. Didn't they get the honor society
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Up in-
National Junior Honor
I
Society.
didn't see
correct.
that in there.
We can-
I will add that.
So,
I
well, the
know,
high
they-
school one, but not the junior
Yeah.
one.
They did a car wash this past weekend. I think they raised like $1,300
That's awesome.
for UNICEF for Ukraine, so,
That's wonderful.
yeah.
I'll make the motion, we accept the student handbook for Indian River School for 2022-23.
Second.
And Danielle with a second. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? All right, all those in favor of the Indian River student handbook signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed and abstentions. All right, thanks for explaining that, April.
Thank you, and I will make sure to add the National Junior Honor Society in there.
All right, otherwise I know who to tell.
All right, thank you so much. I gotta go to class.
All right,
Hi.
thank
Bye.
you. All right, student handbook for the high school.
So you do have the, you want to just go forward with it?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Make a motion to accept the Mascoma Valley Regional High School Student Handbook 22-23.
Second.
And Danielle was second. All right, yes, go ahead, Amanda.
I just have a very limited knowledge here. I believe the only changes that were made were updates to personnel. I don't believe any significant changes were made to the handbook.
Because we've gone over.
I will
Yeah.
say that page numbers don't match the table of contents. I did notice that, so there will be some corrections with that, and there are some formatting issues that I
Yes.
like also corrected.
So yeah, just some formatting things. So.
I would like page 3 to be
Only once?
What is
extended
that?
out so I can at least not have to go through an eye exam for my
Yeah, what
driver's
is
ed. Okay,
page
my
3?
driver's test.
What is that?
Wow.
Did it scan funky or something?
Yeah.
At some point, who knows? But
Anyway, so page 3 is like.
Is there something on page 3?
You see
page
The
it?
table
four.
of contents,
It
page
was on
3.
there for page.
Right here,
There's a
right here,
couple
down.
Oh,
page
there's
threes.
two, you know what, there's two
Two
threes.
pages,
in
two
this
twos, two
page
Oh,
one.
threes.
because it's so wonky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Can
I
you
can
this?
read that one, that one's fine.
Can you read
It
that
was-
one?
Yes, it's this page 3 that I was like, am I missing something? It has a 3 at the bottom and it's blank. I'm like,
Yeah, I'm looking at-
are my
I'm
eyes
looking
even
at-
worse
Wow,
than
I was
Brewster's?
wondering the same thing.
My eyesight's gonna be gone.
Yeah, you're right. There's 2 pages. There's 2 2s and 2 3s back to back. So yeah,
Okay.
aside from the formatting and the cleric, cleaning up that stuff, they did a lot of work on this
Oh,
over the
yeah.
last couple of years.
Yeah, they
Yes.
did.
So it's in a good place.
So
So
do
we
these
want-
also have appendixes with all the,
Oh, yes, so what you are missing are, to save paper, we did not print
Yes.
the glossary or the appendix, if you will, of all the required policies that we sent home.
Which are
So it
covered.
is included in
The
the
other one. Yeah.
IRS handbook,
Mhm.
and those are attached to all the rest of the
Right.
schools. That comes directly from the SAU, we send that to them, they attach it.
and parents at this point decide to, they don't, I mean, not everybody gets a paper copy.
No, we
Okay.
provide paper copies
Only
on
as
request.
requested.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all different.
Yeah, we just do it on,
Family-
isn't that part of the
family
online
ID.
packet?
That's
at the
correct.
appendix? Like we sign off
Everywhere.
on it,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
and I think there's a link to it so that we can go and read
Each school has their
it.
handbook on there, and then on the school board page are all
Right.
the policies, you can look them up by number or by keyword or.
And every student has to somehow electronically sign that they have
Yeah,
received the student
that's
handbook. So okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And the parents do as part
And-
of the
yeah.
the
that's-
student registration online, where we verify all the things and push all the buttons.
Thomas just asked to pick up all the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all right, cool. Any other comments or questions? No. All right. All those in favor of approving the student handbook for MVRHS for the next school year, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Absent. All right. Good with that. Okay. Agenda items for next meeting. So we'll have some committee reports. We'll have sports staff nominations, emergency operating procedures for the elementary schools, student handbooks for them as well, lunch rates. If we need to put forward any NHSBA resolutions, general assurances, and the June PD newsletter. That sounds like a full plate.
Yeah, it is.
I'm sure we'll find some other things.
Yeah.
All right. Public comment. Anyone else out there?
They left.
Okay,
No? All right.
moving on.
Okay. Well, we have non-public then.
Do we do the?
Yeah.
Oh,
We'll do
wait,
this,
wait.
we'll do this.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't turn my page over. Sorry. Okay. so we have our staff nominations and staff resignations here for us as well.
Make a motion that we accept the nominations and resignations with regret.
Second.
All right. Any comments, questions, concerns?
So you will see that if I started with the resignations on the bottom first, you will see that Tina LaFontaine here at the high school custodian has taken another job, caused some shuffling, if you will, of other custodians. So that would be why you see the movement of Carol Noel to over to the high school. Matt Oliver will be headed over to take Dan Grant's spot. So there's been a lot of shuffling. You'll see more of that. Those two positions will start, those changes will start in July 1st next year. So those, hence those. You do see, and if you did not see the letter from Mr. Little has decided that this will be his final year, or has been his final year at Enfield Village School. Ms. McIntyre has submitted her official resignation, as we knew she had been nominated as the assistant, or rather the principal at the Lebanon Middle School. Emily Nestor, fourth grade teacher at EVS, will also be headed to a different school to teach. Jacob Pudemarsh, our night custodian here, is also headed for another job. And Brooke Ross, who has been our special education coordinator at the elementary schools, will be headed to take an assistant principal spot.
Cool.
Another district. Yep.
All right. Any other questions on that? All right, all those in favor of accepting the nominations and resignations as presented, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed and abstentions. All right, so we do have non-public. We have our emergency operating procedures for middle school and high school, as well as our cyber security emergency operating procedures.
So you do see, Tim, that's correct, we do have the non-public. It is missing the letter I, which is the on the agenda.
Yes.
So that does need to be added in. It does signify that we are looking at emergency operating procedures.
Okay. All right, I'll let them know.
Make a motion, we go into non-public RSA 91-A:3.
You just say 2B.
2B, yeah.
2BA and I. And
That's my eyes are tired.
That's okay.
All right.
You have a second?
Second.
All right, Brewster?
Yeah.
Tim? Yes. Danielle?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Oh, Candace? All right. we
And
are
Tim,
in- Yes.
I would like the board's permission for Mr. Suddy to stay to discuss the
Yeah,
cybersecurity.
Yeah, I would have, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything because I just assumed that's.
He tried to leave.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.